I always thought this LEGO Star Wars MTT was horrible, but I've never actually experienced it for myself, so welcome to my review of the 75058 MTT from summer of 2014. It has 954 pieces, quite an array of minifigs included within that, and an original retail price of $90. First off, the box art. It is probably the best LEGO Star Wars MTT box art of the original three here. It looks beautiful. Like, as much as the 2007 version is way better, this box art is just killer in my opinion. There's tons of action, the colors pop, and you got that Darth Vader on the top right. You just can't go wrong with it. Actually, funnily enough, looks like he's grabbing the staff, which is pretty cool. The back of the box also looks great, making sure you know about every feature included on this tiny MTT. It shows off some glamour shots of the build, as well as some action shots of the MTT taking on Obi-Wan Kenobi, even though that didn't really happen in the movie. Now, before we go any further, like I said, summer 2014 set, and that's the last year that I consider to be part of the golden era of LEGO Star Wars sets. This set in particular, though, I think is special. It wasn't the first LEGO Star Wars model to be downsized. We'd seen the ATTE receive a small downsize. The Imperial Star Destroyer was downsized, but I think this MTT took it a step further in being the first model in the 15-year history at that time of LEGO Star Wars to be obviously a downgrade to the prior version of itself. Like, is it not insane that we had 15 years of consistent improvements on every single LEGO Star Wars model every time? Basically until right here. Like, that's how I view this set as well. It's part of the reason that I think it's particularly bad. Anyway, with all of my thoughts based on looking at pictures my whole life, I think it's time to unbox this and really truly find out just how bad, or maybe secretly good, it is. Cutting into the box and pulling out the contents, I of course felt no nostalgia. You're gonna find bags numbered 1 through 6 inside of this one, and the instruction manual and sticker sheet are inside of this plastic wrapping with the cardboard backing to keep them in immaculate condition even after over a decade sealed in the box here. So the sticker sheet, nice and small, not too many, and the instruction manuals, very nice standard LEGO instructions, except, you know, they've got some great sets in the back of them. Anyway, let's build it up and we'll take a look at the minifigs here first. Our first pair of minifigs here is Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I also want to explore why they're in this set, because of course they did not battle the MTT on Naboo, but we'll get to that. First off, Obi-Wan Kenobi looks nice enough, except for the skin color on his torso. You know, what they're showing underneath the Jedi robes, instead of actually being a skin color, it's just orange. It matches his hair much more closely than it matches his skin. I don't know why this was such a big issue for LEGO for a few years. They could not print skin tones. Obviously, you're going to see this issue parroted on the Qui-Gon Jinn here. It's a glaring issue that takes these figures from really good to just simply bad, because it's, you know, why is their chest orange? Doesn't make sense. Now, ignoring that, the rest of the Obi-Wan is perfect in my opinion. You've also got a couple of facial expressions. I really like his angry one. Just think the expression there is awesome. So I think the Obi-Wan, outside of that little chest color thing, is perfect, but that chest color thing definitely takes the figure down a notch. The same can't be said for Qui-Gon, because he suffers from the age-old issue of having no double layer print for the leg print, and therefore the print looks faded on the legs instead of just matching the tan color of the body and hips. Like, it's just those little things that LEGO Star Wars just seems to cheap out on, and clearly in this case has been doing so for a long time, as even the latest 2024 Qui-Gon Jinn suffers from that same issue. But if you ignore the two bad things about Qui-Gon, the rest of him is great. So if you just have some illogical thinking, you can think these figures are good. Unfortunately, these just aren't good Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan minifigs at the end of the day, because they have some pretty major flaws in my opinion. Questionable quality aside, their inclusion in this set is also questionable, as of course they weren't on the front lines on the Battle of Naboo. They were busy fighting Darth Maul. But I think there's a few reasons we see them here. First off, they do interact with an MTT earlier in the Phantom Menace, so kind of checks that box. LEGO also really likes to have some level of conflict within each of their sets, and they did a bunch of Naboo sets at the time, and all of them have this. Like, they have the good guys and the bad guys within each set, and so they had to get some good guys into this MTT, not just a straight battle droid MTT like they did in 2007, which personally I prefer, but given they were including so few battle droids compared to 2007, I think they knew they had to do something more here. And then also, kind of as a carrot on a stick, you know, LEGO definitely uses some of these figures and characters to get people to buy the more expensive sets, and the Qui-Gon at the time only came in the MTT. The Obi-Wan we did see in summer of 2015 with the Naboo Starfighter, but yeah, the Qui-Gon was kind of the carrot on the stick in my opinion for this set. So that's kind of my rationale behind the minifigs in this set, which might seem odd at first, but really make a lot of sense the more you think about it and look at the other sets that were available around the same time. We've also got a Naboo security guard here, who we would later see repeated in the Flash Speeder. Very nice Naboo security guard. I love this figure. I think it's aged very well. It doesn't really have any major flaws, if any. The hat is wonderful. So yeah, love this figure. And then I think the most interesting figure of the set, before we get into all the battle droids, is the PK4 droid. Now this is one that apparently was actually in the Phantom Menace. It was there during the Battle of Naboo, kind of picking through a lot of the droid bodies at the end. You can see him there. They were also, I think, on one of the Looser Hulks at some point. So they're around. I had never noticed them until I was doing research for this review, that yes, the PK4 droid is like an actual thing. It wasn't from like deleted scenes or anything. It's there, and it's pretty cool that it's included here. It's a unique LEGO Star Wars character that to this point, 26 years into the theme, this is the only place we've seen it. So I think it's really cool for that. And the legs and arms and head are all posable, so it does have some good maneuverability. Obviously comes with tools that you've seen it with. So very nice inclusion with the PK4 droid. I love that just as a really like hardcore fan inclusion, I guess. And then we've got the droids. You've got one battle droid pilot. Looks like a really good battle droid pilot from the area. You've got the little bit of printing on the front to have some more tan instead of just an all blue design, which is what they had like way back in the day. So definitely looks a bit nicer than the originals. You've got the small blaster. Nice battle droid pilot. Then we've got 7 battle droids. 6 of them have a curved arm, straight arm, and one of them has 2 curved arms to pilot the staff. So you've got a nice array of battle droids here. It feels like not enough for an MTT. 8 total battle droids. Like we'll see though, you are only going to be able to fit 6 inside, so it does make sense that this is the number included. But the prior MTT had included 20 battle droids, and the droid carrier that would come out a few months after this included 14. So this only including 8 really did sting. Like this is the big set for the battle droids, and it only includes 8 versus these other ones that have included way more in the past and the future. So to me, it's always been kind of odd for that. But overall, all things considered, size of the set and all that, it's a really solid minifig selection. The only gripes I really have are the quality on the Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and I guess the number of battle droids, but then again, you couldn't really fit more inside. Despite what the world may tell you, size does matter, and this 2014 MTT build is a shining example of just that. Compared to its 2007 predecessor, it is ridiculously small, and it's not like there's a massive difference in price here. Adjusted for inflation, the 2007 set in 2014 would have been $115. Remember earlier? The 2014 set was just $90 at the time. This, in my opinion, is not a $25 downgrade. It looks like a $50 downgrade, if not worse. Now, just because it's small doesn't mean it's all bad. Don't worry, we'll get to that though. It does have some redeeming qualities. There are some fine details that I do really appreciate. Like some of the coloring on this is really good. Mixing in a little bit of the darker brown with some sticker detail definitely is nice throughout the model. You also have what is probably my favorite little bit of like accurate detail on this MTT, where the slope or angle changes on the bricks, going from kind of the front section to the back section of the MTT. This is a really accurate thing, and it looks really good here. Definitely a little bit of superior shaping to what we had in 2007. These round pieces here are another much more accurate representation than what we had seen in the past. Like, there's a lot of small sections of this small MTT to love. Unfortunately, when you put the whole thing together, it is a bit of a clunkier mess than you would like, but I think there are small details and small accuracies that just weren't there in previous models that this thing does well. Unfortunately, altogether, it doesn't feel like a complete package. Like, starting with the fact that there's gaping holes in the MTT. Like, you look through the side, you can see clean through this thing. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, that's why this model should have been the same size as 2007, just with the increased accuracy that they could have had here. Like, if you combined those two things, you'd be looking at what would have been the best MTT model. This thing does some little things right, like I said, but not enough to compensate for the lack of size and how few droids were going to fit inside later. This is definitely a model that feels like it was downsized before all of the pieces existed to really finish it off at its size. There's just sections on this build, especially on the front and on the side, where you've got the big gaps and you've also got like these really flat edges that aren't finished off well enough, in my opinion. So just areas like that really kind of ruin this model to me. For all of our play functions, I want to kind of work front back, but there is one that is throughout the entire model, and that would be the wheels on the bottom. Just some clear wheels on some Technic pieces. They roll well enough, and certainly they allow your MTT to move very well, especially on smooth surfaces. This thing can kind of drift as well. It's a very fun one to spin around, throw around, especially because it's lightweight. It's one of the benefits of it being smaller, is it just moves a little bit smoother, a little bit easier than maybe some of the older models, not as much friction. So definitely nice with this MTT as far as the movement and speed and playability. Obviously don't love trading that for some of the size and greatness that we could have had. But yeah, the underside looks nice enough. And again, like, this is where all the holes are on the bottom, so you can literally stick your finger like clean through here. Kind of wild compared to the 2007 one. But anyway, you've got the main cannons on the front. They can rotate with the ball joint just a little bit. The problem that I find is that if you try to rotate them with one hand, you can see how much more motion comes into play there because they're not like held in place very well. really at all, because these whole things can rotate up and back, which might be something you find cool for storage. Like if you've got a bunch of these in the hangar of a transport ship, that works very well. But obviously for most people on their normal displays, you're going to keep them down like that. And throughout play, I don't know, maybe kids found some enjoyment out of doing that. But to me, it's just keep them down, keep them straight, and they look the best, certainly. Not a play feature, but these also can swing out. I don't know, maybe you could find some value in that as like air brakes. I just think it looks kind of stupid, but that's a thing that it can technically do. The next play feature is probably the most important one on any MTT, and that is the way the troop rack will come out of the MTT, the way all of these like hatches open up, and this one works very well. So on one side, you're not going to find anything there, and then on the other side, it's very fun to twist around, you're going to find this black knob. It sticks out very well. You can very much tell that you are supposed to twist that, so you're going to pull it back towards yourself here in this case, and it will open right up. It works just like the 2007 version, basically, which is definitely optimal as far as the functionality goes. Unfortunately, still, when you close it back up, the doors don't close on their own. That's still something I really wish sets could do. I think it's a little bit unrealistic, but it would be very cool, right, if the doors could close on their own too. But yeah, opens up, very nice, very smooth, very clean. And so with it open, I mean, it does look pretty cool, but of course it is going to be disappointing that you can only hold 6 battle droids on this little platform. And I should also mention here, this little platform is going to be exactly the same as what we would see in the summer of 2015's droid carrier. So they were interchangeable, which is cool if you had both sets. Unfortunately, I don't have the other one built here right now, but it is something you could do if you wanted to interchange them. There's also more racks inside of the MTT that are technically interchangeable, but like, why would you put the weapons rack at the front of the MTT? Just not cool at all. We'll come back to those ones though. So as we place our battle droids on, you do have to fold the heads down for them to fit, and it's nice that there's a little functionality there, I guess, but it's not the full like fold that we saw with the previous version of MTT, where you get that full feel of like the droids are opening up and activating on Naboo. Like that is just not going to be present in this MTT, and I think that's a big miss for Lego Star Wars. I just don't understand why you wouldn't have that the way it was before. They don't look proper, like they're actually stored up getting ready for battle. They look more like they're just taking a nap on the job. It's simply not as cool, and that's kind of the idea of this MTT to me, compared to its predecessor in 2007. But here are all the 6 droids on the rack. They do look pretty cool, I'll give it that, but unfortunately, again, it's going to be only 6 going into the front of this MTT, so we'll slide those in there. And by the way, there is a rubber piece on the bottom that is going to create the friction needed so that this isn't like jostling around or falling out of its spot, which is really great. There's another thing that could definitely have used a little bit more of that further back in the MTT, but it's great. So like, even if I push it a little bit, it's not just going to fall out. You do have to like give it a little bit of force to get it past that rubber and drop it out. So place it back in again. Just that little bit of resistance is really a nice feel when you're putting the rack into the MTT. And so with it in there, we'll push all that in, close that up, and I'll give you the view of it with the battle droids. How intimidating. 6 battle droids coming out of your MTT. It does look a lot cooler. I also do appreciate the translucent clear piece on the very front that allows you to see kind of into the battle droid section if you're just looking at it dead on. I think that's pretty neat. But yeah, only 6 is disappointing because the last one did 16. So what a downgrade. I suppose within its own world, as its own playset, it works. The function is good, but yeah, 6 is just, I'm not going to get over that. That's tough. Getting into the head section of the MTT here, there's this little handle basically you grab on the side to open this up, and that is where you're going to find a place for your battle droid pilot that's included in the set. So both sides open up so you can see clean through. It looks very nice like that, and it's going to, oh, I didn't realize you had to open both hatches to slide it out. So you got to also open the bottom hatch. Well, there it goes. I don't know why the spring-loaded shooter fires off automatically every time I open it up, and I don't think that was the intention with the set, but just something that's happening on mine. Let's see if this one fires. See, that one didn't fire. So there's a spring-loaded shooter also hidden. Okay, that one doesn't have rubber. It falls right out. But okay, there was a spring-loaded shooter hidden in there. Anyway, this is the little platform for your battle droid pilot. You get a little lever, you get a little button. That's it. Nothing too crazy. The studs, of course, are to attach his feet there. So you just push him on, and he's not really going to be going anywhere. And yeah, you can have him like pretend to hold the lever and all that fun stuff. Like, looks pretty cool on there. And then it's going to fit right back into the rail system, just like that. And yeah, he looks nice in there. I also didn't even notice they did put some sticker detail inside to show the pilot's view from inside of the MTT, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, closing all of that back up, it hides away very nicely. Just a small gap in the build, but I think that's okay there. Now into the rear, you've got 3 distinct functions here. This door panel opens right up, and this is the one with the weapons rack, so you can fit up to 6 droid weapons here. And I don't know, I find it kind of interesting. I feel like they've missed a spot for your pilot droid's weapon to go. Maybe he could still be holding it, but I've just got it loose off to the side, and it doesn't feel like there's a spot for it unless I missed it. And with the weapons rack full of weapons, it will slide nicely into the side of this MTT, and this one is going to fold into the body, no problem. Now there is one on the other side here. You can do the same thing, pull it straight down, and it's another rack that is going to hold your PK droid. Have him grab onto the handlebars like that, push his head down maybe a little bit, and then they were very thoughtful to include little clips for his tools as well, which is really cool. So put one on that side, one on the other side, and just like that, he's going to be good to go into the MTT as well. So we'll slide him into place and fold him into the body of the MTT, and then there's one more. So I simultaneously think this function at the back is really cool and really sucks, and I'll explain why. So first off, I would have loved to have just a fold down door at the back. I just love that about the 2007 one, and would have loved to see that repeated here. But I also think what they did here is pretty ingenious to be able to store the STAP inside of the MTT. At the same time, it doesn't do it as well as it really should. So let's go ahead and lift this up. In a way, you can see why that cutout was there now. It's to avoid hitting this piece at the back, just like that. And so when you lift it away, the STAP is revealed in the back of the MTT, which is really cool that they were able to store this inside. So it just slides in kind of like everything else. You can see the rails there. It's got kind of the railings on the bottom of the STAP. Slides just like that, and it's in place. Now, the issue I've run into is if you use the MTT and kind of slide it around too much, well, it didn't hold the STAP for long. And then sometimes it can be annoying and get kind of stuck in there, and you can have a tough time trying to get it out. Like, it definitely feels like it's slightly not refined enough of a function. The STAP on its own looks okay. My biggest gripe with it really is that it's not very high off the ground for obvious reasons. The way that it functions with the set, it has to be very low like this. But at the same time, when it comes to how it performs on its own, it just doesn't look as good as a lot of other STAPs that we've had. The design overall is okay, but I would say it's really a bit thick here. You know, you're looking at nearly 2 bricks thick in the middle. Just a bit much in my opinion. But you've got the handlebars, same kind of thing the PK droid would grab, and really all the other STAPs do for battle droids, but you get a couple of curved arms there. Have him attach onto the STAP, no problem, and he looks all right there. But yeah, the STAP just feels a little bit big and bulky compared to most other LEGO Star Wars STAPs throughout history. I think that's the best way to describe what I don't like about this one. But with the droid in there, I actually didn't test this yet. I kind of wonder if it'll still fit in, or maybe I have to put the droid's head down, maybe not. So, ooh, he goes all the way down just like that. Yeah, no problem. All right, that's cool. At least that works. So you can see him in there. But yeah, the problem really is that this slides out a little too easy, and then there's nothing stopping it from sliding forward, like let's just say it's upside down in here, too much to leave the rail system and just kind of fall into the body of the MTT and then kind of get stuck and cause a problem, and now you got to dig it out. I really just don't like that. I think that's a big problem with this set, so I don't know. It's a nice feature, a really great idea, everything except once you do that, you know, until that point, it's great. Having finally built and experienced a 2014 MTT for myself, I think I can come away saying that I like it better than I did yesterday. It's definitely still not the best MTT, and it definitely makes me a little bit sad that they made it so small, because what they were able to do with the size is very impressive. They packed a lot in. Now imagine that ability with the size of 2007. Like, the potential of what this could have been is crazy for a year that is considered part of the golden year of LEGO Star Wars, in my opinion. This could have been one of those very nice cherry on top type of sets, but instead it kind of stands out as one of the worst of the era. I do also really appreciate that they made up for the lack of battle droids with something unique like the PK4 droid, as well as a couple of Jedi and the Naboo security guard. Like, I feel like that definitely adds some value to what at the time was a $90 price tag. It probably wasn't overpriced, and if it was just barely so at the time. Mostly considering the value that the minifigs add there. If they didn't have those, you're looking at probably a $75 or $80 set though. I'd love to give this one a rating of like 7.5 out of 10. It's certainly nowhere close to what we've had, but it's not all that bad. There's one more thing. You might have noticed lots and lots of cracked pieces on this set throughout the review. All I ask is that you look up #MadeToBePlayed on YouTube and figure out who's paying for the ads and what they're saying in them. If you guys enjoyed, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, and you can check out more LEGO Star Wars 2014 set reviews on the end screen now.